My name's Karter Baughan,
My name's Ben Hammond.
and today we are going to discuss the topic of how Pardon My Take has changed sports media as a whole. Ben, if you want to start with the background.
Absolutely. So, Pardon My Take is the number one sports podcast in the world. It started in 2016 with two people, Dan Katz and Eric Sullenberger, who created a podcast just using humor to talk about sports and pop culture.
So the reason why we chose Pardon My Take is because we thought, like Ben just mentioned, how it's been humorous and it's taken over sports media as a whole, and it went from being this edgy podcast, kind of this nothing podcast, to now being a cult favorite, number one podcast in the world. And I'll ask you this: why is it important that we analyze Pardon My Take?
It's important that we analyze it because it's important to understand why it's number one. It's important to understand uh, what makes people tick, what makes people really like Pardon My Take. You talked about that cult like following. It's important to analyze, especially since Pardon My Take is a unique podcast. What are those unique qualities that really draw people in?
And then the other thing I wanted to touch on was what does Part of My Take do for culture at large? If any kid between 18 to 24, any college age kid is listening to Part of My Take if they're into sports, it's the number one podcast. It's edgy, it's in your face, and it's changed sports fans as a whole and how people watch sports, look at sports, analyze sports, and that's what we really want to dive deep into. And then last, I'll ask you this: what is the function of Part of My Take?
The function of Pardon My Take is to inform, but more or less just entertain the audience. It's about sports, but a big thing is that they're very humorous. They're very comical. It's a funny podcast, and that's why a lot of people like it. So really, just to entertain people, they've always talked about on there that there's a lot of real life hard things going on in people's lives, and they wanted to use Pardon My Take as something to relax and to enjoy and to have fun.